Hello, my name is Louis Shoup, and I am the author of these two books, Presidential Diary and Presidential Diary 2, Last Chance Before Armageddon. The topic for discussion in these videos today is money and the Federal Reserve System. These videos are adapted from a speech I gave to the Las Vegas Republican Town Hall Group on April 10th, 2013. What I say in these videos is based upon my personal study. You must decide for yourself if it is logical and sensible. This is part 1 of 4 on the topic, money and the Federal Reserve System. This is a Zimbabwe $100 trillion bill. I keep it in my wallet to remind me where the United States is going. This is legal tender in the nation in which it was issued. I show this to people from time to time to see their reaction. Usually it elicits a laugh, or they may think it is quaint and interesting. When I finish speaking tonight, you may realize why this is no laughing matter. I will start with one of my favorite quotes and end with 2 quotes followed by questions. From Ludwig von Mises, quote, "Government is the only agency that can take a valuable commodity like paper, slap some ink on it, and make it totally worthless," unquote. So what is money worth? After all, it is just paper and ink and has no intrinsic value to a person. Well, the Mona Lisa painting is just some canvas and oil paint, but it has a very large worth. Money, like many things, has value because, like the Mona Lisa, people decide it has value. So what is money worth? Money represents the wealth of a nation, and as such, the amount of money should always be kept in an approximate relationship to that wealth. So if, for example, you increase the nation's wealth in 1 year by about 4%, then you can safely increase the money supply by about 4%. When the relationship between the supply of money and the nation's wealth is broken, there are damaging consequences, and that is what I wanted to discuss briefly tonight. When you or I or state and local governments go broke, we have no money and no ability to get enough to meet our requirements. But how does the federal government go broke when it can print all the money it wants? The federal government goes broke by destroying the value of money. In other words, by destroying the relationship between wealth and the money supply. This is typically done by creating money that far exceeds the creation of wealth, also called inflation. When that process gets out of control, it causes hyperinflation and the destruction of the value of money, as you can see from the money I just showed you. At the present time, our national debt is about 17 trillion. About 30% of our national debt is owned by foreign countries or entities, about 40% by individuals and institutions, and about 30% by the federal government itself. Of the foreign countries, China and Japan are the largest holders and own about 7% and 6% respectively of our total debt. The individuals and institutions that own 40% of our debt are pension funds, state and local governments, and various individuals from all over the world. In general, but not always, this 70% of our debt is owned by real buyers that pay with real assets. The 30% owned by the federal government is the major problem in this equation, and we need to look at it in some detail. Of the federal government entities that own about 5 trillion of our debt, the Social Security system is the largest holder, with almost 3 trillion. How, you ask, can Social Security buy that much debt when it is supposedly going broke? The answer is that all the debt purchased by federal government entities is worthless. It is paid for by the Federal Reserve printing money and inflating the currency. This is all dressed up in some fancy name, such as quantitative easing. When the federal government runs a shortfall, which is now in excess of $100 billion per month, they must borrow the money. To do this, they issue various debt instruments. When they cannot sell the debt to legitimate buyers, they must buy their own debt. The analogy I like to use is that this is similar to someone opening a candy store, and when they cannot sell all their candy, they start buying a large percentage of their own candy themselves. Not only will that person soon get fat, but eventually he will go broke. Not only is the massive debt a problem, but the inflation it spawns is an even greater problem. If the government continues down its current path, the toxic combination of massive debt and hyperinflation will destroy the U.S. economy. Equally as important as the amount of debt is the percentage of debt held by the federal government. As this evil process continues, you will see that the percentage of debt held by the federal government will increase, and the percentage held by legitimate buyers will decrease. This is because legitimate buyers will lose confidence in the dollar and will no longer buy our debt. This is the end of part 1 of 4.